When you work with students, you get accustomed to raising your voice, getting attention. And the first thing I'd like to do is ask everyone to take out pen and paper. I'd like you to take some notes because I will be assessing a quiz at the end of this presentation. Just kidding, just kidding. Dean Jim Thompson couldn't be here today. As you know, we've just started the semester, and the initial 4 to 6 weeks of any semester are very hectic with things. He expresses his disappointment that he couldn't be with you, but he said, "You can carry the ball," and I said, "Thanks, Coach, but don't put me on the field on Saturday." Just a little bit of background. When I say engineering, what school do you think of in the state of Missouri? Exactly. And that is part of why we are out here, I'll call it proselytizing, waving the banner. The leadership of now it's called S&T, has done a very good job at capturing mind share in all of the people in the state of Missouri, as well as surrounding states, in terms of engineering students, engineering excellence. Dean Jim Thompson, when he came into the college about 20 years ago, realized that he needed to change what we were doing. Back in those days, we were primarily a teaching college, not a research-oriented college. And to become part of what is called the most prestigious set of universities, the American Association of Universities, they have a high standard for conducting research. And so over these past 20 years, the college has undergone, I'll call it a revolution. And that revolution being from being primarily teaching oriented to a good balance of not only teaching and education, but research. About 6 to 8 years ago, the former president of the University of Missouri system, Elson Floyd, if you remember him, he is now with the University of Washington, actually Washington State, in the state of Washington, where he went to become president. He placed a fourth mission in front of the university. And that mission, in addition to education, research, and service, is economic development. The university system in this state is a large economic engine. We have direct impact on the state's economy of approximately a little over $2 billion a year in terms of salaries, purchases, things of that nature. However, we have a lot of intellectual horsepower to drive the state of Missouri and its economy to much greater levels. And so Dr. Floyd basically challenged the deans, the chancellors, faculty, etc., to step up to the plate and move that agenda forward. Dean Jim Thompson in the College of Engineering said, we've got to be out there working with Missouri businesses to help them tackle challenges, move forward, be more successful, grow their businesses, because your competitors are no longer those companies that are within a 50-mile radius. They happen to be sitting across the ocean in the Far East or in Europe. And the gentleman from the FBI hit it on the nose. Those folks want what we have: intellectual property, lifestyle, etc. One of the statistics that the dean always uses in his presentations is this. In the United States, every year, we graduate about 80,000 engineers. Sounds pretty good. In India, they graduate 500,000 engineers. In China, they graduate somewhere between 800,000 and 1 million engineers every year. Guess who teaches them? We do. Guess who are the most revered and most distinguished faculty on their universities? Americans. What has happened is there's been a huge shift since the 1970s and early 80s. And that shift is one of where American companies had this great engine inside most of them. And that was that they had a huge investment in R&D. I point back, if you remember back for some of you, and those of us who have some gray hair, or maybe the traffic has been pretty fast on top here.
Watch it.
Exactly. Although yours is coming back. If you remember when AT&T was broken up, they had probably the best and most high-profile in-house R&D effort in Bell Labs. It was the model for just about all of American business in terms of how you invest in the company, develop new products, bring it to market, grow the company, grow jobs, increase wealth, you name it. Since then, unfortunately, that has become a high-cost undertaking in industry. And more companies have downsized and outright eliminated in-house R&D. Therefore, our competitiveness has suffered. Our competitiveness vis-a-vis China, vis-a-vis South America, what they call the BRIC countries, Brazil, for example, even Russia. And what is happening is we've exported our intellectual horsepower, our ideas, and that is what's galvanized those folks and their economies to begin growing at much greater rates. What the dean has done is said, this is what our challenges are out there. So we as a college need to do our part here in Missouri to help Missouri businesses. And so what we've been doing is the following, and it was interesting in terms of your comments about students not being prepared when they go off to college. We have retention specialists in the College of Engineering, and this is not unique to just the engineering school. It happens across the campus. But the whole focus is when we see deficiencies in students coming to us out of high school, to have them in groups where we can upgrade their skills, whether it's math, and math is the number one deficiency, to be perfectly frank. In an engineering discipline, math skills are paramount, and that is the most critical area of focus in terms of upgrading the student's capability. But it spans that. We have retention specialists who work with them on their language arts activities as well, because in this day and age, there is no engineer out there who is worth his weight unless he can communicate, unless he can make presentations, unless he can write. And these are the things a lot of people have not understood. So what the dean has expressed to his faculty is we are going to focus on experiential learning. In layman's terms, get your hands dirty, hands-on, so that when you walk out of the college, you have practical experience. How do we do that? We want companies to work with us on research activity for students in the form of capstone projects. So for the gentleman back there, when you asked the question about contract research of Mr. Devereaux, we would want to do that contract research with you, for you, where we could bring students together and do a capstone research project for you. You own all the results. The students get the benefit of three things. One, they're doing research that is being directed by people who are confronting day-to-day, real-life problems. Because that's been one of the knocks about engineering education, is that it's too theoretical. It's divorced from reality. Well, this now brings it into the practical. The second is, by doing that project and working with the business, we're getting a flavor, we're getting a taste of what that business is all about. Plus, the business is getting, in layman's terms, a puppy sale. They're getting a quick look at potential employees, see how well they work in that environment, see how they work under direction of the employer, the contractor, if you will. And the third thing that the student is benefiting from is working in time frames and under expectations and deadlines that business is meeting every day. So that when those students come out of those capstone experiences, they have a much better feel for what their life is going to be like on the floor of that business, in that manufacturing company, in that high-tech company. in that biomed company, wherever it may be. Maybe they're going to go out and they're going to go into sales. Well, maybe they worked on a sales project. The whole point of it being giving those students a first-hand, real-life experience so that when they graduate, they can hit the ground running as quickly as possible. Now, we've worked with a number of companies, and one of the comments that has come back from a number of them is that it takes us 6 months or longer to really train a graduate in how we do things. Get them up to speed on the technology we employ, the processes and so forth. So here's how we're trying to bridge that gap is through the capstones. Another one that we're using are internships. We are constantly looking for opportunities for our students to work in businesses. You know, in my day, my summer job was to go out, earn a couple $1,000s, if you will, so I had beer money, that type of thing. Not today. The competitiveness out there, these students are focused on getting jobs, getting opportunities in these internship situations that can have a direct translation to the opportunity for their first job, getting the foot in the door at that industry. Give you an example. We have a chemical engineering student. Has entered his senior year. He's working for a large personal care products company here in Jefferson City. For those of you who know, you probably know who I'm hinting at. Multinational, multi-billion-dollar hair care products. Maybe I can try and narrow it down even further. Anyway, he, in that internship, impressed the management of that company so much, they posed the question of, would the college be interested in having a relationship with us, where we could take this internship and grow it and possibly have multiple internships? And oh, by the way, do you think faculty might be interested in doing some joint research projects with us? And spanning the spectrum from doing some things that are supply chain oriented to reducing their heating and cooling costs, which translates into a corporate goal of being much more sustainable and having a true green footprint, if you will, to looking at logistics issues, to looking at technology issues. It spanned a very wide spectrum. That came in, and immediately we convened about a dozen different faculty, had that management team come in, and as a result of that, we are now going down multiple paths with them, building not only a more robust internship relationship, but we now have a number of faculty teams that are looking at different research opportunities. We've already completed one assessment in their energy use and have come back to them with a myriad number of recommendations in terms of how to improve energy usage, to reduce their cost, etc. As well as there is one project in particular, which is a strategic project for this company worldwide that they're exploring getting our faculty involved, because one of the things they like about it, and this is one thing that we are constantly telling companies, is when you're bringing a faculty member in, you're getting an objective viewpoint. And I'm not saying that to diminish the value of bringing in a consulting engineering firm. We are not looking to compete with them. We do not compete with the private sector. But that objectiveness is what the management team at this company really like, because many times they are concerned that when they do hire an engineering firm to work with them, they're getting basically a canned solution that's specific to what that firm's area of expertise, whether it's product, process, or whatever, is oriented towards. So that objectiveness is critical for what we are looking to bring to the Missouri companies. Another area that we look to upgrade our impact and input to Missouri businesses is in the prototyping area. We have a rapid prototyping development facility. In fact, this personal care products company has brought a prototype to us that they wanted us to fine-tune for them and build them a couple prototypes. Literally the day that we got that out of our prototyping machine and got it cleaned up, they picked it up and it was over to their European headquarters. That took place on a Friday. It was on a plane Sunday, and it was in their European headquarters on Monday, going through evaluations for that company to potentially take that prototype and give it the green light to now take it forward as a product that they want to then start to manufacture and sell around the world. That's the type of symbiotic relationship we're looking to establish with Missouri businesses, whether they are big or small. Everyone thinks, oh well, all you're interested in doing is working with the Boeings of the world, the Cerners of the world, since I was talking to some Cerner folks at my table, the Amrons of the world, the Leggett and Platts. They are very important to us, but equally as important are small and medium-sized businesses, because that's the backbone of Missouri's economy. That's where the largest number of people are employed. That's where the largest employment gains have been made. And so it's a concerted effort for us to work with small companies. For example, a couple of years ago we worked with a company, it was a startup. They had a product, they were looking to license that technology from a development company out of state. They asked us to evaluate that technology against some standards that they felt it needed to meet, and they did not have the wherewithal. We evaluated that technology, gave them our report. They took that report and got their first $100 million investment to help them get up and off the ground. Built their first manufacturing operation, and that product is now in field testing for the industry that it's aimed at. All it was 2 or 3 guys. They had an idea. So we can help small folks. I've got a professor right now, we've got a proposal on the table to work with a construction and quarry company here in central Missouri. They're looking at some safety considerations for quarrying. And so we're doing a what-if analysis relative to what they need to do in terms of setbacks to protect equipment, to protect people, so that they can be in compliance with EPA and OSHA for those types of regulations. The dollar value that we will bring to them is multiples beyond what the cost of that research will be. The thing about it is a lot of it draws on the theoretical expertise of the faculty. You're not going to find it in engineering firms. And that's where we're blending the pure research, which has been our bread and butter, with the applied research that industry needs. And what we're trying to do essentially is unlock, if you will, the vault where all of these ideas exist on the shelves of the university. The university on an annual basis has about $350 million, $375 million in spending, investment in research. Now that spans the entire university. The College of Engineering's piece of that is roughly about $35 to $40 million. However, when you look at the amount that actually gets out to the workplace, gets out to the market, it's extremely small. When you look at it on a royalty basis, royalty stream, we on average are generating less than $10 million a year in terms of royalties. That is a terrible ROI for you folks in business to work off of. What we're trying to do is unlock that. We have a new president, Tim Wolf, comes from industry. That is one of his big motivators, is to unlock that capability, unlock that potential, and get it out to the marketplace. He just recently brought on board, at the system level, an executive from Penn State University. What he did at Penn State was basically take the world and turn it upside down. He took Penn State from basically being an ivory tower and said, we're going to open the doors and invite business in. We want to work with you. That is the philosophy that Tim Wolf and the staff at the system want to permeate down through the university. And I'm not just talking about what's going on in Columbia. We're also talking about what's going on in Rolla, what's going on in Kansas City, what's going on in St. Louis, on the other 3 campuses. Because this is a system-wide effort. I will give the folks in Rolla their due. They have been much better at this for many more years than the other 3 campuses. We have been slow to the game, but the wheels are starting to turn. And so what we're trying to do is basically help you be much more successful by bringing to you the research capability, the consulting capability, the prototyping capability, the student capability to help you resolve problems, help you capitalize on opportunities, and take them forward. And this doesn't encompass the traditional engineering disciplines. We have people who are industrial engineers, and they're working with biomed companies on biomed research because there are principles in that process engineering area that applies to that research. We have people who are coming out of logistics, and they're working with IT companies to design systems because there are concepts in logistics that have applicability to the design of those IT systems. We have civil engineers. In fact, Linda Crystal, who you mentioned earlier, I just had a meeting with her a week or 2 ago. They have a need in Sedalia for some civil engineering because they don't have the expertise on the staff of the city in terms of some development that they want to do. So we're getting our civil engineers involved to assist them with some of the preliminary research, planning, and so forth. We do research with the Department of Transportation here in the state on safety. So what I'm trying to get at is, don't look at engineers in a very defined box. Engineering today is as far and wide as you can think about it. It's a very creative process. It's a very interdisciplinary process. That's one of the things that we emphasize at Mizzou. We are constantly putting projects together where, for example, we've got journalism students working with engineering students, and then we're shipping them off to Apple and other places to compete on developing new apps, for example. We're working with business students on business plans for engineering opportunities. We put business students together with engineers and with doctors to come up with new biomed solutions. The point being, it's cross-disciplinary. There are better ways to come at things than just solely thinking of it from an engineering standpoint, or a business standpoint, or a med standpoint, or a journalism standpoint. That cross-pollination is so critical. And it brings a greater solution, a greater opportunity forward to the organization or the person who is ultimately sponsoring that research. So if there's one thing I'd like to leave you with is this. The College of Engineering is here to serve you as citizens of the state of Missouri and your businesses. Not just from the standpoint of educating your sons and daughters, which we think we do a very good job of, and in fact, and I see the gentleman's left, but in terms of our ACT scores, as a college, our ACT scores happen to be the highest for the campus in Columbia. That's the discipline that we require in order to get admitted to the College of Engineering. However, we also bring to the table and can help you in areas of research, problem solving, capitalizing on opportunities, things that you might not think of that would come from an engineering school. If nothing else, just take a look at us and think of us as a virtual R&D department. Remember the example I gave earlier about AT&T. AT&T had the best R&D effort going worldwide, but it was a high cost, high dollar effort. Could not be afforded any longer. Well, guess what? You have a similar effort sitting up in Columbia, or you have a similar effort sitting down in Rolla, because they have good people too. The point being, think of it as a just-in-time solution for you when you're dealing with problems that you, for whatever reason, can't sort out yourself. And my last pitch is, and we're reasonable. We don't charge like a lot of folks do in the private sector simply because we are academics, and I'll be perfectly frank, trying to get faculty to up their prices. I might as well talk to that wall, because that's part of my job, is to get them to think a little bit more globally in terms of the value they bring. They're very point specific, very solution oriented. They don't think in those terms. But the bottom line to all of this is, we're here to be your partner, to help you be more successful. Because I can tell you, the folks that we are talking to in China, where yes, we are getting 50% of our students, they are looking at us and saying, we want what you have. And they're working hard to catch up. And ultimately, according to that Wolf comment that the fellow from the FBI had, leap past us and possibly eat us alive. So with that, thank you. Any questions?
Questions for Kevin? I know one of the challenges, and we've talked with the dean before about this, and I'd appreciate it if you could relay this on to the president of the one of the challenges that we've had is when we've had members that have tried to use the research facilities, there's always a question about intellectual property and who owns it, and when you get the finished product, then who owns that intellectual property. And that could be a big problem. We had one of the members of our board had done some projects like that, and they actually ended up with a competitor owning the intellectual property. It wasn't MU, it was another university. And then charging them a license fee to use the technology that they actually paid to develop. So that was a problem. And I know of at least one recent case where we've had a member that's tried to do that. So please pass it. I know it's nothing you guys can do anything about, but pass it on to the president. Let him know that that's what I am hearing anyway is really the only block, because I think the quality is there, and actually you're a desired facility to use.
And if I can offer this, I'd be a liar to say that it is 100% smooth sailing at 100 miles an hour as we go through our legal processes. I compare where we are today to where we were 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Substantial improvements have been made. But Tim Wolf, to his credit, realized that there was still a lot more that needed to be done. And that's why he brought on the gentleman from Penn State to continue that process. Because there is a realization that we've got to be more responsive to you in the business community.
We appreciate it. I think that was the only thing that I had heard. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
If I give you my card, can you pass this on who can contact me regarding all of this?
Oh, sure.
Okay, great.
Appreciate it.
And there is a basic university research credit out there in addition to the traditional credit.
The voice in the corner of the room. Help me pay for it.
Taxes always have a way of working.
Hey, it's 40% alike.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it, Kevin.